We still have the college football kegger here on 105.3 The Fan. Jared is in today and tomorrow. 30-15. We got trash being thrown on the field. We got officials overturning calls. And we got Arch Manning right before halftime. But most importantly, we have Bobby Belt getting worked in his whole SEC argument from last week and maybe the week before, that the SEC, they finally have a real profile. The Texas Longhorns raised it for them, and Choppy kept saying, no, you're about to get initiated. You're about to find out what real football is all about, and the Texas Longhorns did, and it brought me great, great joy. Not just for the Longhorn fans, not just for some who cover the team, but for Bobby to get the SEC argument put right in his mouth.
I'm disappointed in you, Sean, is that you as a professional broadcaster, you know to lead with the interesting topic, right? There's nothing interesting about all of us being right? I mean, we all said Georgia was going to win this game. And we all said that, look, Texas...
I think you and Choppy said it wouldn't be close.
I think we all picked 30-15, roughly, Georgia to win this game. Yeah. And so, I mean, there's nothing fun about all of us being right. We all picked Georgia. Georgia's great. And then we move on. So we can talk about something else now.
Well, I'm glad I have someone credible in the room. Jared, how stunning was this to you? Did you bet this game?
Yeah, I bet the over, so I missed on that. I did not take a side. I did think Texas was the better team, but we talked about it right before kick. I thought Georgia would win. They needed it more. The game meant more to Georgia than it did to Texas. I know Texas was at home, but in this 12-team playoff setup now, that game was so important for Georgia because if they lose, then one more loss and they're out. Texas still had some wiggle room. I did not expect Texas's O-line, which arguably the best O-line in the country, to get absolutely manhandled the way that they did.
That's what happened. What this was Kirby Smart, just with all the different late front shifts. It was all the stemming from, all right, we're going to show you one look, and then it's 2 seconds before the snap, and all of a sudden, here's a shift, and everybody's up front, and now all of a sudden it's zero, and the offensive line has no time to communicate. That's great stuff from Kirby Smart. It's inexperience from Texas's O-line and lack of preparation to respond to that. That's where the game was won. Nobody had any time. I understand they needed to put Arch in there to get some sort of a spark going, but the reality was it doesn't matter who's back there. They weren't going to have any time to throw because they had no preparation for what Georgia was going to do from the blitz standpoint.
And I don't know that Sark had his best game, obviously, but Texas, when they're at their best, they have some plays that they take a second to develop because they have such a good O-line. And it just seemed like they had these play calls that maybe on another night would have been great play calls, but they didn't have time for these plays to develop because Quinn was under pressure immediately. And then they were playing behind the chains the whole game too, which didn't help.
There was one clip that was going viral over the weekend of Georgia in an overfront, and you see from the all-22 camera, but Georgia's in an overfront, and it is 1 second before Quinn snaps the ball, and all of a sudden the defensive linemen all shift a step, the linebackers step into the A gap, and it's like, oh, this looked like standard pass rush, and all of a sudden it's zero blitz, which means everybody coming, no zone coverage behind that, and it's man, and it's just like, okay, we have a massive blitz coming our way that our offensive line is not prepared for, and then 3 guys come streaking through.
All right, so is that something that you think and say, all right, man, Texas's O-line got exposed. That team is not as good as we thought, or is that something where if those two teams meet again, now that Texas has seen that, they'll be way better equipped and you'll see a different version of Texas?
So that's Kirby's. That's what he's done for 3-4 years now. And
this sounds like a Sark indictment to me.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, it's a lack of preparation. It was poor preparation. Now, I'll say
Kirby didn't just pull this out of his rear end.
I mean, the blitz concepts always look different, but Kirby's going to do that, and it looked like there was no preparation for these late front shifts that Kirby's known for, and has become their calling card. There's been none of that from Texas. Sark just looked underprepared for that. Quinn looked underprepared for it. And, if they see him again, I would hope there's better checks, there's better preparation, there's some other things that they can do to try and throw things off. But in general, no, Georgia was just schematically dominating them. you can't have Carson Beck throw 3 interceptions
he was
and
bad.
lose. You can't lose that game. And more than that, you can't get blown out at home in a game where Carson Beck throws 3 interceptions.
Pepe, after abandoning us earlier in the day, before we went to Plano for our second stop, where did you end up watching this as a semi or kind of Longhorn fan?
Yeah, I watched it from my house.
Okay.
Watched from my house, so I was there.
And were you suffering?
Yeah, I threw my phone a couple times, because I mean, look, when Georgia starts on, within the Texas 30-yard line or even closer to the end zone, like it's going to be an easy win for them. They should have won that game. Texas just played awful, and Quinn's worrying me. I was huge on Quinn before with the arch and who to start, who to play first. I was all Quinn, but now it's like I'm closer to 50-50 now. I mean,
I didn't think Arch looked any good.
Threw his phone.
well, 2 drives.
Threw your phone
Yeah,
because
but-
Baylor won by 24 over Tech. Was
Bobby,
it that
you know
upsetting?
what? I'm going to tweet out you were repping a TCU Horn Frog.
Yeah, it's nice.
Oh!
So
You know what I
You're
know what
about
I
to get it,
love?
Bobby.
You know what I
Shut
love,
up. No.
Peyton? Peyton,
Yeah,
you really
you love- yeah.
Peyton, you really are becoming
talk.
choppy. Peyton, you are becoming choppy because you get all your takes from the fan text. Because I saw them texting you that for an hour before you finally brought it up. So that's great.
Yeah.
It's good to know that we got choppy sitting in today.
Well, you don't see the fan text because you block every number that pisses you off. Because you're soft, like the Cowboys.
Pepe, wait till 7:40. You're gonna love it.
No, fine.
Yeah.
Let's wait till 7:40, Peyton.
That might need to be 7:20. I don't know that 15 minutes is enough to cover Saturday.
I agree.
But Carson Beck was awful, and
What, he threw 2 picks. They had 0 points off it.
no, and that's the thing. So, and Payne mentioned this.
2 early picks.
Georgia scored on short fields, and Texas only scored when Georgia committed dumb penalties to help them move the ball down the field.
Let's talk about the QB shift, because me, like everyone else, shocked. I'm like, you are crapping all over Quinn Ewers. What are you doing? But the fact that Sark went back to Ewers for the second half, that makes it like kind of totally okay for me that you threw Arch in. If Arch came out to start the second half, I'm like, we got sirens going off. We got a problem here. We flushed that since Quinn came back out for the second half?
Yeah, so I think they go to Arch for 2 reasons. One, just the general spark, but because he is more mobile, the fact that they had no time, maybe Arch's wheels could help, but he didn't look very. I know he did not play a lot, but when he threw the football, it did not look that good. They go back to Quinn. I said before the game that if they go to Arch in the middle of the game, they got to be prepared to stay with Arch the rest of the year if he plays well, but he didn't do anything that special, so they go back to Quinn. It didn't surprise me they went back, and I think that Quinn is still the guy, but I mean, obviously, it's not quite Major Applewhite Chris Sims yet, but now the conversation's a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I get why he did it. You're in need of a spark. You need more mobility. It's not unusual. We've seen.
But in the moment, you weren't like, what the hell is going on? Because we didn't know he was going back to Quinn.
It made me wonder if Quinn was hurt. It's like if Quinn's just not healthy yet. That's what it made me wonder. But I mean, yeah, it was they couldn't block anything up, and they clearly just felt like Quinn couldn't move behind that. Now, I will say this. I'm going to give Texas credit or say I'm at least impressed that they battled back and made it a game a little bit in the second half at one point. But yeah, I mean, this was a disappointing effort. They looked completely unprepared.
And Oregon moves to number 1 for the first time since 2012. The Longhorns fall from 1 to 5. Too steep of a drop? 1 to 5. We go Oregon 1, Georgia 2. Penn State 3, Ohio State 4, the Longhorns at 5, Miami 6, and then we'll get to the rest here in a second.
Nope, just about right.
Just about right.
5, 6, like I'm fine. If you want to put Miami ahead of them, I guess I can't kill you. The reality is Texas is better than Miami. And so, but I mean, all those teams, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Oregon, yeah, they all belong ahead of Texas right now.